And now it is time for Starcraft. With $60,000 raised, this one goes out to everybody who donated to contribute to this and more. This is for you. And for ire, here's Starcraft Remastered Brood War with KingDime. Woo!
Awesome. I hope everyone's ready for this Starcraft bonus run. The original, it was released in March of 1998, and then the expansion came out November 1998, I believe, and then the remaster was just a couple of years ago in 2017, and it added some ultra high definition resolution, some re-recorded audio, and some different, like a different ladder system online, because it used to just use custom games and you could just play the same players over and over, but now you have to actually go on ladder and kind of get a random opponent with matchmaking. But otherwise, let's just do a quick couch introduction.
Hi, I'm Railcoon. You might recognize me from the previous run.
What? No. I am Covert Muffin, and I have never run this game, but I'm here. This is going to be great. Yeah.
Oh, great. Let's get right into it. Okay, we'll start in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. So we're going to be starting right away here. So after the end of the original campaign, the Overmind has just been destroyed on the homeworld of Ire, and the Zerg forces are kind of destabilized because they work as a hive mind, so they don't really have a leader. So we're taking Zeratul and the remainder of the Kali Protoss to a warp gate, and they're going to go to the homeworld of the Dark Templar. But so the one of the big differences with StarCraft is that it uses asymmetrical races. So we have the advanced Protoss race, we have the crafty Terrans, and we have the Swarm, the Zerg. If we went back to Warcraft 2, and you were comparing, say, a Grunt and a Footman, they're essentially the same unit, but they have a different skin. Just gonna be busy here, kind of getting some Dragoons in front of Sunken Colony so that they can tank for Zeratul here. Because Zeratul has 400 shields, but shields take max damage from all different attack types in StarCraft. So we have concussive, explosive, and normal damage. So a Sunken Colony that hits for 40, that's going to knock down our shields very quickly. But we're going to get set up here at a secondary outpost where we can use the shield battery, and kind of a tricky section coming up. So
Yeah, Dime is going to use some really big, beefy units here to take damage in one of the scariest portions of this map here. The Archon is a huge health shield with a bunch of shields there, and the Dragoons are also very tanky and fast. There's other good units he can bring along, but they're just not fast enough to make it through here quickly. So he's going to try and tank with this Archon, but unfortunately the Dragoon took the aggro first, but he did manage to make it through. That's a lot of damage.
Okay, we're good. We're good.
But he should be all right. It looks very scary, but that's the worst part of this mission. So he should be able to squeak through. Normally he'd want most of that attention going on the Archon, but now that he's past that part, he can just squeeze right past this Ultralisk, which is going to stare at him for a second, but not quite aggro, and he's going to be able to finish up here. So really nicely done. That was very scary, but Dime managed to get through it.
Yeah, you can clap for that. Yeah, that's good.
So we have the Kali Protoss, and we have the Dark Templar, which are kind of known as the Nerazim. And so there's this elder part of the Protoss called the Conclave, or the Judicator caste. And long ago, the Dark Templar had, they've like denied the religion of the other Protoss, so they were banished to a different world.
Yeah, the Protoss are connected to each other through a force called the Kali, or the Kala, I think it is. And the Dark Templars severed their connection to it, which gave them the ability to tap into the Void power that you see them using with their Dark Blades and their permanent invisibility. And we're going to see a couple more Dark Templars in this mission. And Dime is moving his probes in a very particular manner here, because he doesn't want to get too far ahead of his Zealots. Otherwise, the Zerglings can cause him problems.
Yeah, and so this is going to start breaking into sort of the base building aspect of what an RTS is all about. Because in a lot of different speed games, you only control one or maybe two things that are going on your screen at a time. But in RTS, you literally have numerous units that you can send them to do all different sorts of things. So here, Dime is building a base to be able to get more resources to build more of those units, which is basically known as macro. And then he is going to be controlling individual units here by leashing these Hydralisks back to try and only aggro a few of them at a time in order to keep his Zealots alive while maximizing the efficiency of his damage.
Yeah, and Zealots are really big powerhouse units early on. They've got a pretty good amount of health, and they do a lot of damage, but their main drawback is that they do 16 damage, but it's split into 2 attacks of 8. And that means attacking any enemy that has armor or damage reduction, it reduces both attacks of 8 damage. So hitting a unit with 2 armor, you're gonna do 12 damage instead of 16 because of the double reduction. But we're about to get some more Dark Templars here, and we're positioning our units very carefully because, well, the Hydralisks that spawn won't see the Dark Templars since they're permanently cloaked. So we gotta make sure that our probes survive here. Since we only start with 4, losing even 1 probe will really slow this mission down a lot because of the way that income accelerates in this game.
Yeah, and so here there's just an attack wave that Dime is going to be defending, and then he's going to start macroing up. So out of this Nexus, he's going to be building more and more probes. Down below, the Dark Templar, which deal massive amounts of damage in single attacks, are going to take down those Hydras fast. And then we are into some dialogue.
And if you know a lot about playing StarCraft, you'll notice, like, why is my probe out there kind of in the bottom left? Because I'm at 80 minerals, so I can't really do much with that. But after this cutscene, I get plus 100 minerals, and then we're going to make a pylon. Because in the top right, we have 22 out of 17 supply, so I'm supply blocked. So I need pylons right away, and each pylon gives me 8 supply.
Yeah, and so from that pylon, he's also going to be building a unit-producing structure known as the Gateway. This is going to allow him to build more Zealots. Oh, wait, no, that's on
Not quite yet.
Not quite yet, okay.
Right now, he's going to clear out the center area of the map because the objective for this mission is to kill the base in the bottom right corner. And so he's going to move over, and he's going to try and kill some defensive structures there with these Cloaked Templars. They're very big powerhouse units. They hit very hard, but they have very little health. So Dime's got to control these pretty carefully. But he's also going to be here because there's going to be some units that spawn here. StarCraft is interesting because it's one of the earliest RTS that started making the CPU build units, but you'll see that they will also rely on spawning attack waves at times as well. So he's going to be lining up where he is, getting ready for one of these unit spawns to try and take care of it so he doesn't have to defend his base.
Yeah, so here's where he's going to be placing the Gateway as a bit of a proxy in that nice little choke there. Then from that Gateway, he's going to end up building a Zealot, which is going to stand in the gap so the units can't actually progress through it. And then with that one Zealot in the spot, it can't get surrounded by a swarm of Zerglings, for instance, and so he's going to be able to take them out one at a time. So that's very nice building placement from Dime.
Yeah, now that we've cleared the way, he's going to head over here and he's going to kill some more some static defenses. That's really important because the static defenses for Zerg spread creep, which allows them to build units on the creep, but that means that Dime can't build on them as well, and he's going to do what we call a proxy, where he tries to clear out this creep and get a pylon down so he can create some offensive gateways, reduce the travel time of every unit he has to build. This was actually done very early on in the pro scene of StarCraft, and it blew a lot of people's minds, but now it's kind of a normal thing, and Dime is going to be taking advantage of this as you see the creep retreats. He'll be able to get a pylon down here pretty soon and get some gateways up there so that we can have a lot of units up here close to the enemy base and finish this mission as fast as possible.
And the Zealot that's coming out is very imperative because we can have a Zerg spawn of Zerglings that come up and attack me. And it's going to look quite a bit like a multiplayer game. There we go. So we have our wall off, kind of like a Forge Fast Expand.
Yeah, so this is moving along pretty nicely for Dime. Just standing in that narrow gap means that really only 2 Zerglings can hit him at a time. And Zealots only take 3 attacks to kill Zerglings. Their health differential is massive. So just putting him there, that Zealot can take that on pretty nicely. You'll see he started gathering gas. He's going to be making some Dragoons. They are the other core unit of the Protoss army between Zealots and Dragoons usually. Dragoons are the ranged attack unit. They're big, they're fat, their AI is very dumb, and because of some quirks with how they move, it can make them very interesting to move in very tight spaces. So you might see some of them glitch out here. Dime is very good at kind of dealing with that, but you still might see some of them dance around for a second until he can get them under control.
Yeah, it would be pretty silly. Like, you'll see him, like, grab all of them and tell them to move, and then, like, 2 of them are just going to be standing there, like, chatting at the water cooler or something. It's great.
So it can be confusing when you're following a game of StarCraft, but I'm using control group. So if I press, say, 1-1, I can go to my Dark Templar and my Zealots. I've got camera hotkeys, so like Shift F2 is going to go back to my main base. And you can see all this if you look at the mini-map in the bottom left, just to see where my view is shifting. So we got normal army, base, gateway, and then I have F3, a second camera hotkey to go up here.
Yeah, with hotkeys, you can either make them select units just to change which ones you're selected, or if you double tap it, like he said, it will then move the camera to what units you have selected as well. It's a very big part of StarCraft, and some of the pro players can utilize this to ridiculous degrees, but instead, we're just going to have Dime in the campaign. It's a lot more about being precise. So he's not going to be flying the camera around too much, but sometimes at the start of missions, you'll see him really selecting things at high speed. It's something that StarCraft players like to do to keep their hands warm, kind of keep up to speed so that they're able to do the missions effectively.
Yeah, and so one thing that Dime is doing to utilize macro efficiency is he's actually queuing up units one at a time at the gateways so that he can support being able to produce 3 units at a time. If he had just like filled the queue of one of the gateways completely full, he would not have enough minerals and gas to be able to build the Dragoons at the other gateways. So it's very important that Dime is on top of this. But if he forgets to queue a Dragoon after one finishes, boom, that's production time that is not being spent making units. So it's very impressive to see Dime so far continue this attack while defending, while keeping up being able to produce a unit at a time in these. But yeah, so do you want to talk a bit about this base, Railkun?
Yeah, so the objective is to kill every building in this base. And our goal is to try and keep these Dark Templars alive for as long as possible, but there's a lot of detection here, which makes them a problem, because the Dark Templars' main strength is that you can't see them, and they have very little health.
I had a hold position glitch there on that.
One of the big issues with Dragoons is their AI, like I said, can glitch out, and they will completely freeze. You cannot order them any commands. They will not move. They will not attack. The only way to clear this is to individually select the Dragoon away from all the other units, hit hold position, and then hit stop. And it will reset them, and then you can control them again. This will happen sometimes throughout this campaign. You'll see it a couple times if you see a Dragoon just standing there doing nothing, even though Dime is telling it to do stuff. That means he has to individually select it and fix it. So at this point, Dime's really just microing. He's got enough units coming in. He can clear this out. It's just how well he micros depends on how fast this mission clears up. So he's doing pretty decent so far because he's got his DTs alive, and those are the important ones. But right as I say that, I jinx him because one of them dies. Unfortunate, but he's still got a good amount of units. We should be clearing this up shortly.
Yeah, so meanwhile, this is all going on. He had a Hydralisk attack force at his gateways that he had to like individually micro 2 different Dragoons to be able to take them down without losing a single Dragoon. So if you notice that units end up like having very low health, it's not because Dime is getting fortunate. Well, maybe like in some cases it is, but a lot of the time it's because he's moving back the damaged units to be able to bring them back into the fight, so the enemy ends up attacking units that have more health.
And unlike in Command & Conquer, which you just saw, a low health unit still has full battle effectiveness. Does not affect their movement speed or their damage. So especially as a Protoss commander here, if you can keep units at low health alive, they'll regenerate some shields, and they'll still be pretty effective in battle. So the goal is to keep them alive as long as possible, because the unit at 1 health still does as much damage as a full health unit.
Right. Right. All right, so yeah, Dime's doing a good job here, just being able to move around and go through the base progressively. So especially having, I believe that's 2 DTs, maybe just 1, alive, it's going to allow him to destroy these structures a lot quicker than if he had ended up losing those.
Yeah, having 2 DTs alive is pretty decent. If you have all 4, like, I think my best time on this map is 8:45.
Wow.
Because the attack that we had in the bottom right, there was just some units that got a little misplaced, but 9:30 is still solid.
Yeah, that was a great mission, Dime. Nicely done.
One of the things you might notice if you're paying attention to the timer that Dime has on his screen, we're 13 minutes into the run, but the total time that he's had on both missions is more than that. That's because the timer in-game is actually running at a slower speed than Dime is set the game to. So for purposes of speed run, he's set the game to the fastest speed possible, but the timer is still running as if you were playing on the slower speed. So that timer is going to increment a little bit faster than real time. But Dime still has it on because being able to look at it is a good reference point for when certain things are going to happen in missions. He has it timed out to know at 4 minutes this exact thing is going to happen. So this mission's interesting because it's the one that introduces us to Corsairs. They're a strictly air-to-air unit, but they have one of the more powerful spells in the game, Disruption Web, which makes anything under it unable to attack. This game has a very rich patch history of some pretty drastic changes to balance. And one of the consequences is in that early patches, Corsairs, the duration of their disruption web is about 3 times as long as it is now. So it's going to have them automatically disruption web the static defenses, then spawn some Dragoons. And the intent is that the Dragoons would clear everything out on their own. But since disruption web lasts way shorter than it used to, these Dragoons will die if he doesn't move them away. So instead, he's just going to grab all these units. He's not going to bother with killing these static defenses and just bring them back because it's a bunch of free units he doesn't want to give up. And he'll be able to use those in his speed strat here.
Yeah, and I have to go up the tech tree to the robotics facility, and the cyber core is required for this. So we just have to wait for this to build, and so we're just going to be waiting a bit. So go ahead, Iggy, with some donations.
Fantastic, Dime. I appreciate it. God Tier Giraffe sends us $50 and says, "You represent what is greatest in us all, and all our hopes go with you. In Taro Adun, brave sons of Ire."
It's in Taro Tassadar now, after the original.
Yeah.
Oopsie. Venom73 sent us $10, and I think he recently just merged because his comment simply says, "Power overwhelming." Thank you, Venom.
Oh, need to get a pylon here. So we're getting the robotics because the main Zerg base is on an island here to the southwest. Oh, what are you doing here?
I was wondering what that dot was.
So we want to get a shuttle and transport all of our units over. But we have the DTs here on the south side of the base and the Dragoons over here because there's a small Zergling wave that's going to come.
Yeah, and the Dark Templars are very important because if you're not familiar with Starcraft's story, they found out that the energies that the Dark Templar wield are close enough to the energies of the Zerg that the Zerg commanders, which are normally impossible to kill, if a Dark Templar kills them, they stay dead. So this mission is coded interestingly. It's not that the Dark Templar needs to get the last hit. There's a little box around the Cerberus that as long as a Dark Templar is standing within that box when it dies, then it will consider it dead and it won't respawn. And that's the way that a lot of the triggers in this game work. There's just a box, it counts the number of units in it, and depending on the counts that are in that box, it makes certain things happen. And that's definitely going to be a fun thing later on with one of the speed strats we're going to have later on.
So we have the shuttle about to come out, and we're going to transport 2 DTs and 1 Dragoon in our first. But we're going to set up a disruption web, so the Spore Colony, which is an anti-air structure, can attack our shuttle. Here we go.
The Dime has that disruption web timed out based on the timer at the bottom.
And we're sending Corsairs to different positions. There will be an Overlord Doom drop from the purple Zerg. So I want to defend from each possible case. The Corsairs act as just an alert system, so I know where they are.
Yeah, so the nice thing that Dime can do is he can just peek at the mini map every so often because you can't split where your eyes are looking. So using something known as a mental checklist, he is going to be able to see if red dots or purple dots appear in that. He knows the Overlord drop is coming to a certain location because it can go along one of 3 paths, I believe, for Elkun, right?
I don't remember exactly how many, but
okay.
It is more than one because the AI in this game is interesting. they were able to give the enemy computers like a subroutine where they have defensive villages, offensive villages, where they try to attack via air, ground, or drops. So here comes the drop, and he's going to try and chase these away. And that will cause them to drop here on top of his army, where he can take care of them much more effectively instead of his base, which is relatively unprotected at the moment. So very nicely done, Time.
Yeah, and so all the while, meanwhile, the shuttle can only actually hold 2 Dragoons each time. So he's making 2 Dragoons and then ferrying them over immediately to join the rest of his army. And it's important that he keeps supplementing his army with more and more Dragoons to be able to continue to sustain this attack. Because the longer Dime actually ends up taking in a lot of these missions and situations, the more units that the Zerg is going to have been able to build up. So you think a lot of RTS speedrunning is the difficulty of moving in with minimal number of units. In this case, it's actually working for Dime to be able to attack the base sooner rather than later.
Yeah, because like I said, the enemy will both spawn units and build them. So while it might seem that it would be a lot easier if Dime were to just sit back and make a couple more units, that just means there would be even more defensive units on the side of the Zerg. So you're kind of walking this thin line of attacking quickly with not many units, and, well, not letting the enemy build up too many units on their side as well.
And not everyone knows this, but StarCraft 1, it doesn't show it well on the map, but if I shift right-click, like with this Dragoon, there is shift commands, but there's a small delay at the end in each separate movement.
Yeah, so instead of queuing up a bunch of commands, Dime instead is going to end up just telling the units to move a short distance away and rapidly clicking to be able to continue their path.
Did the Dragoon just go straight over the spawning pool there?
I think so.
They were kind of glitched on top of each other by an egg, I think.
Oh, okay.
Because when the egg pops up from a larva, its size increases and it can cause the units to glitch out a little bit.
Good.
So I'm attacking the evolution chamber to bait in some purple Zerg before we go into the last Cerebrit. So we'll just do a quick safety, get our Corsairs ready.
That's one of the things you'll see Dime do repeatedly here, is that by attacking certain units or structures, it will cause the enemy computer to react. So he can draw some units out away from their sunken colonies, which are those defensive structures. And he's got to get these DTs in here, and that's why he disrupted web the sunken colonies, just so they won't die.
This is really close. Okay.
Oh, wow.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, man.
That was very good.
Yeah, so those DTs just ended up dying, like, right after he was able to take down the Cerebrate. So that was, like, that was insane, dude.
Especially since how we explained how there needs to be a DT standing there for it to die. If it had died too soon, then the Cerberate would have just respawned right there and he'd have to kill it again, rebuild some DTs. It would have been a big delay. So very nice time.
So we have Kerrigan going in here and talking to the Protoss, but with the Overmind destroyed, she's like Kerrigan has free will now. She was previously controlled by the Overmind, and Kerrigan is trying to say, "Oh, don't worry about all that stuff I did in the past. I'm fine now. Let's team up."
Ding!
Yeah, and some of our allies don't believe her, but since we're on the homeworld of the Dark Templar, the matriarch of the Dark Templar says that she's going to give her a chance. So now Kerrigan's going to show up and present a plan. And she's found 2 crystals that embody the power of the Kali, the Protoss from Ire, and one that embodies the power of the Dark Templar. And we're trying to gather both of those for Kerrigan, because she says she found a way to channel their power and use it against the Zerg. But right here, he's going to try and grab Kerrigan as soon as he can, and we're going to have a little bit of a ninja mission.
This Dragoon doesn't want to come with me.
Okay.
So right there, I'm sending the Dragoons as quickly as I can to hit a giant trigger across this map, because it activates the United Earth Directorate base. I'm going to actually have to reset. I took damage. I didn't cloak. Only like 40 seconds. You can go with a donation, Iggy.
Actually, if you don't mind, I'd like to take this time to call attention to the link between World's file name bid war that's going to be closing at the end of this run. My dude is leading by twice the amount of Bort. But if there are any Bort fans out there, you want to make it Bort, get your Borts out for Bort.
So this mission, what we need to do is we either need to send a drone or Kerrigan down to the bottom right. You see there's a red dot in the mini-map on the bottom left side of the screen. And Kerrigan has a lot of health, and she has Cloak, which is the ability to go invisible like the Dark Templars. So Dime has a lot of very particular movements he's going to make to try and draw some enemies out of the way as he runs through some detection that'll be able to see him so that he can sneak down there and hopefully get down there with just enough health to trigger the end mission. Ooh, that Marine kind of blocked us a little bit. We'll see if we're all right after this, but that's going to be a little bit rough. We'll see how it works out. Yeah, not too much damage, which is why he made that safety save.
I want to be at 170 health.
And the enemy units have an interesting table of priorities for aggro. And one of their highest priorities is that when they're attacked by a unit they can't see, their first priority is to get out of the way of the damage. So what Dime's trying to do is he's trying to storm from out of vision so that these Goliaths will be busy trying to run away instead of attacking Kerrigan as she runs by.
That's good. Okay.
Nice.
Good.
Okay. Yeah.
That is very tricky, and there's a lot of very precise clicks that Dime is doing because he wants to move Kerrigan in a very specific path while also keeping from getting body blocked. So he's going to be moving through all this detection, taking a little bit of damage. He has a safe spot if he gets a unit chasing after him. There's a very tiny section where there's no detection that he can reset this. And now he's getting ready to make for the final run at the objective in the bottom right. And if this goes well, she will get there with just barely enough health to trigger the end of the mission.
And
That's good. There we go. Yep.
nice. Nicely done, Dime.
But sometimes you get a Firebat 2 on the bottom left that'll start following you, but there's one little space on the map where there's no detection that I figured out. But otherwise, before, I was always resetting. I'm like, oh, there's one Firebat. I got to reset my entire run.
So now we have the Uraj crystal, and we're going to go after... no, we have to actually go after this intermediary mission where there's a bunch of UED Terrans in the way, and there's these power generators we have to take out to disable the defenses. Normally, you'd take these out one at a time in a very particular order, but we're speedrunners, so we're going to do some alternate plans. Get these zealots in here, start attacking this, and then get ready to go after a second one at the same time.
Yeah, so Dime just used some mouse movement there to show off that his units actually end up having upgrades, making them even stronger. So they buff various stats like damage reduction, as well as the amount of damage they're punching out.
And Dime is making use of what we call the magic box,
Yeah.
which when you select units, especially air units, and you move outside of a certain range of units outside of where they are, they'll stay in formation. But if you have one of the units in the control group that are far away from the others, they will instantly stack up. And that allows you to stack up the air units very closely together, means that they get attacked by a lot less of the turrets on the way by. So you can get these scouts in here just inside of all of these missile turrets and take out this power generator while he's now preparing to go after the next one as well.
And then, yeah, after he ends up destroying this power generator, all of the missile turrets, they don't end up like disabling, they just end up changing allegiance to a neutral.
And before this mission, if you were reading, or if you're able to watch the mission briefing, we have Alexei Stukov, and he's trying to be very threatening to the Protoss, saying, you know, get out of this sector, we're the new force, the United Earth Directorate. And then we just destroy him and kind of send him off on his way. Setting up 2 control groups here. I just have 1 shuttle with zealots. Then I'm going to send with 1 scout to tank, and I'm going to send all the rest up to the 4th power plant. We're going to do these at the same time. So just get the scout in front.
And this mission can actually be pretty tricky casually for a lot of people. So Dime is doing some very good micro to get through here and do a lot of these power generators at the same time. But what you might be curious about is, well, all of our shuttles are dying over there. So while we're killing this power generator, our units are trapped over there. So what is our plan, Buffin? How are we going to hit the last one?
We're going to have the enemy trip on drugs. So here with these High Templar, they have a couple spells. Psionic Storm, which is a really powerful AoE spell that we saw from Kerrigan in the previous mission. But they can also cause things to hallucinate.
So these are fake versions of the units. They are very fragile, but all the static defenses will go after them instead. Spells that are cast that give a debuff will instantly dispel them, which is important later as well. But the main goal is that this one real Arbiter here, which is a slow but powerful spellcaster, is going to fly in with all of these, with the air units flying in front and the hallucinations tanking damage for them, as well as getting some disruption webs down. And if we can manage to get this one Arbiter in, then he can cast the spell Recall, which summons a huge amount of units onto its location. We're going to summon all of them directly on top of the last power generator, ignore the huge battle cruisers attacking us, and just power down the last objective to finish the map. Nicely done, Dime.
Yeah, great job.
In this mission, casually, I'll see players all the time take a half hour, 45 minutes, just slowly destroying every single missile turret on the platforms.
So now we are back on Char, and we found out that a couple of the Cerebrates have merged together to form a new Overmind. And this is a problem because Kerrigan doesn't want to be controlled by another Overmind, and we don't particularly like the idea of another Overmind, since in the previous game, Tassadar had to make a grand, noble sacrifice, channeling both the power of the Templar and the Dark Templar into his huge capital ship and crash it into the Overmind to kill it. So he turned himself immediately into a big hero of the Protoss, and they don't know how they would kill another one. So we're trying to stop it. And our objective is we could either kill the new Overmind, which wouldn't kill it, but weaken it, or get the second crystal that we're after. And it turns out that getting the second crystal is much faster for speedrun. So we're just going to leave the Overmind for now. It'll get taken care of in the background story. And this is a good opportunity to show off the miss rate of units in StarCraft. When you're shooting uphill, air units are immune to this, but when you're attacking any ground units or structures, there is a 30% miss rate, but sometimes it feels like it's 50%. You'll see those shots go off and sometimes they'll just go astray. And if you pay attention to this, look at how often they're missing here. It just feels real bad. It is 30%, even if it doesn't feel like it sometimes.
I kept the one zealot there for that. So in the remastered, some strategies are kind of patched out. There's one big member of the StarCraft speedrunning community I have to talk about, which is Freezered. He took on all of the ILs from SDA way back in the day and beat every single one. And you can go find these ILs on YouTube with the original campaign and the Brood War campaign. And in this mission, the strategy in the older patched version of the game was you'd take a drone to create an extractor, and in a very specific animation, you would run yourself out of minerals and kind of waypoint the drone to the Callus crystal, and it would fly over invincible, and you just win in like a minute and a half. But we're doing a different strategy. We're going to suicide a couple of observers into these Scourge to clear them out. And you might wonder, oh, okay, I don't have drones. Oops, I need one. But you might wonder, why don't I just go down this path instead of, and just kind of keep the Scourge alive? It's because there's a bunch of Hydralisks in the way. Okay.
Yeah, so Diamond's clearing out the way here, and even though a lot of what Freezer did on the Isles we can't replicate because he's playing on older versions that aren't accessible for Remastered, and it's also difficult to do a single segment run that's using multiple versions of the game. They were still a blueprint for a lot of our strategies, and a lot of these things that we're doing were built off of what Freezer did originally, so big shout outs to him.
Let us depart this wretched world and return to Shakura.
So we just kind of sneak in and steal the crystal and then get out of here.
Yeah, and if you look at the drone, it casually made the drone invincible just to make sure it doesn't die after you complete the mission. So in this mission, one of the characters who stormed off earlier when we allied ourselves with Kerrigan has turned around and taken control of a lot of our forces. So we have to deal with him. And we have these Dark Archons, which have a powerful ability called Mind Control. They can take any unit on the enemy side and give you control of it. One of the big downsides is it costs a lot of energy, and it completely drains all of their shields when they use it. But there's a patrolling shuttle here that Dime is going to try and take care of. But the problem is Dark Archons, their mind control animation sometimes stops halfway through and doesn't actually finish casting. So you can take these Dark Archons up here with our new shuttle friend that we would have had to take a long time to build on our own. He's going to drop the one that no longer has any shields and use it as a tank as he flies up with the shuttle to get another one much closer, and he's going to mind control this enemy unit that is the objective, which instantly completes it, and then we finish the mission. And that works because, like we were talking about before, the trigger just says, are there 0 Alderis in this spot? And when you mind control it, the enemy computer no longer has control of the Alderis, so it thinks there's 0 of them there, and it immediately triggers the end section.
Wow, Railcoon, that's bringing a whole new definition to mind games.
Thanks, Muffin.
See what I did there?
Yeah, I saw what you did there. So Alderis is pointing out that Kerrigan has ulterior motives, and we're trying to negotiate with him to try and get him back onto our side. But Kerrigan's going to fly up, and, well, she's got her own motives, like he said. And she doesn't want us to hear what Alderis has to say. He's going to come down here and cease these negotiations forcibly, which is going to cause the Protoss to say, we don't want her around anymore. But she's accomplished what she wants, and she's going to go her own way. But now we have the 2 crystals, and our mission at this point is we need to find the ancient temple that we can channel their power through to try and destroy the Zerg that have infested this section of the space.
Be gone from this world. You are no longer welcome among us.
Fine. I've done what I came here to do. I've ensured the destruction of the renegade Cerebrits, and I used you to do it. Have fun, mighty Protoss. We'll be seeing each other again, real soon.
That's not ominous at all. I don't know what you're talking about.
I wish those were slow overlords right there, just like the slow escape of Kerrigan.
So this final mission, we're primarily going to be doing the talking here because Dime has to focus really hard. This is a mission that's technically on a timer, but there's a section here before we activate the timer that's very important. Both Artanis and Zeratul have one of the crystals, and we need to bring it to the temple. Once both of them are there, we get a 15-minute countdown. Once again, that's a little bit faster than 15 minutes, but that's what's going to show on the screen. And the Zerg forces are going to relentlessly attack us until that timer runs out. Like we were talking about, there's these locations on the map that control the AI movements. I was opening up the maps trying to look into this stuff to try and figure out little ways that Dime could save time. And I found that the area around the temple was named the Peninsula o' Pain. And when we get later into this mission, you will see exactly why. If you watch the IL, Freezer gets very risky with this and does some very impressive stuff. But Dime, since this is a marathon, he's going to take a little bit of extra time before he activates the temple to try and get some more defenses up at these side bases. Because the longer he has these side bases active, the more income he's getting, and it'll make it a lot safer. So he's going to take a few extra minutes, build these up a little bit, get some Templar cannons going, and the main strategy here is going to be build a lot of cannons with Templar behind them using Psionic Storm. Psionic Storm does a huge amount of damage over a very quick amount of time, but the main thing we have to look out for are the enemy air units. They will send either Mutalisks or Guardians at us, and Guardians are extremely long-range siege units that have high health and can hit cannons from outside of the range where they can be retaliated against. There is a little bit of randomness to their attack patterns, like we mentioned before, so we need everybody here to channel their energy, give us some Braze RNG in chat as well. We want as few Guardian attack waves at the start when Dime activates this as possible, so give Dime your energy.
Yeah. Also something to note is that when a Templar pops out of a gateway, it does not start with full energy. However, it's very, very close to the 75 energy that is required for it to be able to cast Psionic Storm. So energy also does not actually regenerate very quickly on individual units. So getting those Templar up as soon as possible is going to be important. And then establishing a nice perimeter of static defense all around both bases as well as the objective itself. Because if we lose a base, we don't like technically lose the mission, but it's going to be extremely difficult to keep reproducing the cannons that are going to pretty much sublimate very, very rapidly.
Yeah, and Dime is also going to get the KDaren Amulet upgrade, which the main thing that it does is it increases their maximum energy, which you might be curious why he would be getting that. But it also increases their starting energy.
Right.
It doesn't quite get them all the way to 75, but because, like Muffin said, their energy regenerates very slowly, it allows them to start much closer to a storm, and it's just going to help out a lot. Every time he builds a Templar after that finishes, they'll only need a couple seconds before they can cast Storm. So we're still doing some preparations, and Dime wants these side bases to live for as long as possible. So we're going to get the middle set up, get some cannons down, some gateways so they can start making some Templar there. And one of the things is, you saw he flew Artanis and Zeratul into the center and started taking out those static defenses, and that seems very risky, given one of the mission objectives here is that they must survive. If they die, you instantly lose. But once they go to the temple in the center, they are removed from the map, and they are no longer a usable unit. So at that point, them dying is no longer a risk. So their health values are kind of a resource. You can use their health to clear out those defenses, since once we start the timer, we're no longer concerned about them.
There's just something fitting about that. The Protoss has all these advanced things that they have, and they're going to use just cannons, the scariest multiplayer building of all time, to defend. Okay, 5 seconds here. Good luck. Have fun.
All right, give us all of your energy in chat. This is where we need it.
Make sure to safety save Dime.
Yeah, good luck, Dime.
This is very important because the first couple waves really dictate how this is going to go. If he gets a bunch of Guardians early, it puts a lot of pressure on him, and it kind of makes it harder for him to get to that critical mass of units that'll make this much safer. But if he gets some of the earlier waves first, it allows him the freedom to get up more cannons, get more Templar, really be in a much safer position. But there is no completely safe position in this map. As you'll see when we hit about the 5-minute mark, things are going to get crazy, and that Peninsula O'Pain name is really going to be shown why it exists. So at this point, Dime is going to be focusing very hard because he's microing, making sure he's defending the side bases and the center at the same time, and it requires a lot of attention. There were a few things that we did want to go over a little bit here while at the start of this, and it's just that there is a very healthy professional StarCraft scene that's been going on. And with the release of the remastered version, it has really injected a new life into StarCraft Brood War, which is existing over in Korea, and it's really taking off again. It's pretty much as big and has been trading size with StarCraft 2 in Korea. And so this remastered version has done a lot for the game and is just really great. If you're a fan of StarCraft and you haven't picked this up yet, it's definitely worth it. It does a lot of really nice things for the campaign. They redo all the cutscenes, they look gorgeous, there's new voice acting, and it's just a really, really appreciated addition by a large amount of the community.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. And so here, Dime just got hit by a Mutalisk wave in the bottom portion of his base, where there's only 2 cannons. So that's a little unfortunate, but he does have enough Dragoons here to be able to deflect it without having to spend any storms on that quite yet.
Yeah.
And then meanwhile, he has built a Nexus as well as an assimilator over at the central structure, the Citadel that he's defending. And this is going to allow him to get more gas, because more gas, yeah, that means more high Templar and more storms for him to be able to defend those later pushes. Because as you can see, the timer ticking down at the top center of the game screen, as that gets to a lower number, as he gets closer to the end, more and more units will spawn in large attack waves, just like this huge attack wave here.
Yeah, and Dime is going to be playing a game here trying to save as many storms as he can. If he can clear these early attack waves without using storms, it's going to help a lot. And the main reason why he's using Templar and cannons is because they complement each other nicely. Templar costs 50 minerals, I think actually 25 maybe. I don't remember off the top of my head, but 150 gas.
Yeah.
So while building Templar, you stockpile a lot of minerals, and cannons only cost 150 minerals. So you can build them both at the same time without cutting into the resources you need for the other one. And so far, we have gotten a nice start. So thank you, chat, for giving us your energy. But keep it going. This is going to get very scary at the end. And Dime is going to be focusing very hard as we get closer to the much worse attack waves. We're going to start seeing higher tier units. So there's going to be some Ultralisks popping up soon. There are very large, beefy units on the Zerg side that have high health, high armor, and have a pretty good attack. So there's our first Guardians. And those definitely need Storms to be taken care of.
Yeah, so they are long-range units, and as you can see, they can attack the cannons without the cannons being able to attack them back because they are out of range. And they deal very high damage into a single target. So them being able to attack the cannons, as Railkun mentioned, it's very, very important that Dime keeps up his micro with both his Dragoons, but then also with the High Templar to be able to get out there and storm. And I believe it's 2 storms to be able to take down a Guardian.
Yes, they have enough health that they will survive a storm. So do Mutalisks, actually, but Mutalisks survive with a single-digit HP, so attacks from anything else will clear them out while they're under a storm. It's very important. It's why we prefer to see the Mutalisks over the Guardians. One of the interesting things is these Zerglings are actually very scary because at this point in the game, they have maximum upgrades, which includes a very insane attack speed bonus that they get from adrenal glands.
Yeah.
And that makes them one of the highest DPS units in the game when they have that upgrade.
All right, so there, oh no. Okay, so Dime here just, Dime is getting attacked with 3 different Guardians, places right now. And so that's very, very brutal. Because he has 2 that are split on top, so he can't use a pair of storms to take out both of them. But luckily, one of them actually ended up walking within range of cannons, so hopefully that'll take out that one. And the other Guardian will be taken out as the cannons are continuing to build up.
This looks pretty bad in the center, but as long as he can keep the side bases up, this is all right. Because what happens is the enemies, they'll target the cannons, but after all of the immediate threats in the area are gone, they'll then fly towards the temple, because that's their main objective. They'll often make them fly in range of the cannons, even if they can outrange it. So you see him losing some cannons, but not panicking, and that's because he knows when those cannons go down, the other Guardians will probably fly in range of the cannons that are behind it. So he's able to clear this out. He saved some storms even though it looked very scary. He didn't have to use all of his storms, which is very, very important.
Yeah, so something to also note is that Dime actually ended up losing his Nexus, so he can no longer end up getting gas from that geyser. But that's okay, because right now he's just purely focused on trying to bring in cannons back into the fold, because getting out the High Templar really early is important and like midway through. But now that he's sort of reaching the end stage, he's got what he's got, and he's just going to try and keep pumping out cannons to refill the ones they're taking down.
Yeah, and he's kept the side bases up pretty nicely, but we're approaching the 5-minute mark where things are really get crazy. So this is where, we need you to keep giving Dime your energy. There is some luck involved here because of the inconsistencies of the AI. They have a little bit of decision making that's programmed into them. Oh, that's very unfortunate. He was trying to send some Templars from the side base to help support the center, but some Ultralisks came in and sniped them on the way. He should still be all right, but that would have made things a lot safer.
Okay, and so there is a big Guardian wave, but luckily they were all clumped up, so he was able to use 2 storms to be able to take them out. What we absolutely do not want to see, which I'm hoping doesn't end up happening now that I'm about to say this, having a bunch of different Guardian waves like that are split all around the... It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen, Railkun. Don't look at me like that.
One of the other things that you'll see will be very important is the angle of attack, because there's a gap in his cannons, and so far it's been pretty kind. He's barely going to hold on to this side base. It's looking scary, but he's got 2 Templar here that he's not using, which is why he's making the save here. We're under the 5-minute mark, but both bases are alive, and that's really good. Even if this looked very scary, getting to this point with both bases alive is extremely difficult. So he's holding on here. He still has some storms if things get really bad, but he's just trying to save them until the latest possible moment.
Yeah, you got this, man. Keep it up. All right, so 4 minutes left on the clock. Dime is being able to reproduce these cannons in this base, which is really important. Meanwhile, there's an 2 Ultralisks here that are going to be tanking the damage. Nice storm there in the back to be able to take out those Hydralisks trying to peek through. That is going to cut down a lot of their damage potential, because as long as the melee units do not have sustain on those towers, that means they are not going to be able to deal any damage. Meanwhile, the middle base has been really fortunate because it hasn't been attacked yet in a couple minutes. Here's a huge Mutalisk wave, but luckily with a single storm, he's going to be able to drip them down with a ton of health getting out, and then the cannons are going to be able to finish them off. This is amazing because Dime has a really nice cannon cluster.
All that attack is from a really bad angle. He does have enough storms to take it out, but it really hurts. He'll be able to defend this, but the big thing is both side bases are alive. That is the most important part at this moment, because in a few moments, the attacks are just not going to stop. This is the point we wanted to try to get to in good condition, and we are in relatively good condition. But in a few moments, the last couple minutes of this timer, the enemy units are just going to start flooding in. And that's why Dime has been working so hard to try and preserve his Templar energy, because if he had to deal with that, had low energy, then he'd be in trouble. And we've got a Troll Guardian over there outside of vision, dealing with some of these cannons, but it's looking pretty good so far. Cross our fingers, keep giving Dime your energy, because these last few attack waves are the scariest ones.
Yeah, keep it up, Twitch chat. You have two more minutes of Bless RNG here. Come on. Oh my God, that one card. He was like, what, you're doing a marathon performance? Cool. All right, so there's an Ultralisk, so there are going to be a few Zerglings that are coming in. Guardian attack in the top left with some Mutalisks pairing as well. Then here, Mutalisks are also coming in from the right side, but enough cannons here to be able to melt them down really quickly. 3 more Guardians with the Guardians split up above as well. So Guardians all around the base, and oh man, this is like the brutal aspect of having the Guardians split up. He cannot be able to take them down with only 2 storms. He's going to have to spend more of that precious energy. But with 1 minute left on the clock, the building still has near full health, so even if they're able to get through the cannons, all he has to do is keep it alive for 1 minute. Come on, man, you got this.
Yeah, and you see the units are not stopping at this point. There's air units, ground units flooding in from every direction. They're still attacking the side bases, but not to the same degree as before. It's just constant flood of units. And this is why the early part of the mission was so important to be in a good shape at this point. Because if he had even half the number of cannons he had going into this, this would be way worse.
And
so
here we go. Coming down, 15 seconds with that constant macro and micro throughout the rest of the mission. 10 seconds, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Time. Yeah, nicely done, man. Congratulations.
No defilers, no defilers.
We didn't get any defilers, and the first Guardians came like 4 minutes in. That was very fortunate for Dime, so thank you everybody for giving him your energy.
Yeah, and also major, ooh, yeah. Yeah, I'm just gonna watch the cutscene, man.
And as it turns out, Kerrigan had her reason for telling us about this.
epic.
So it did turn out it had the power to eradicate the Zerg, but it eradicated everything else on the planet at the same time. Good run, Dime.
Yeah, great job, man. Congratulations.
Do we have 1 minute to show off 2 tricks? Do we have 1 minute to show off 2 tricks? Okay.
Oh boy.
So this is named Total Recall for a reason. This is actually a trick that was discovered last year. This game is over 20 years old, and people have discovered new tricks in this game still. This is actually utilized in the pro scene a little bit, because what he's doing is he uses the fact that when units merge together, they grow and glitch out the pathing. And what he's going to do is he's trying to stack them up together as much as possible by making them glitch out like this, and it circumvents the normal unit cap of a recall.
Oh
my goodness! Keep patrol clicking. Keep them stacked up. Because what you have to do is you have to get them glitched up and keep patrol clicking into the center to make them stack up as close as you can. And what you're able to do with that is this recall, which normally only recall about 16 units, grabs all of those instead.
Wow.
So we get 3 or 4 control groups worth of units.
Not sure what the second thing he's trying to show off is,
I have no idea.
Oh, there's another trick here where we're going to create real Archons out of using hallucinations. We're going to cheat a little bit. Sorry, Control 1, hold the hallucinations.
You think as I do.
I think after all my practice in the practice room, I actually forgot how to do this trick.
Yeah. So what he's trying to do is he's trying to trick the Templar into merging with a hallucination, I believe, but it's very tight on the input to do it.
Yeah, essentially, I was watching a clip, and there was a Korean pro gamer in it, and you're supposed to do like Shift 1-1, and then it would change control to the real High Templar. You would merge the Archons, and then you get real Archons with the hallucination. So that's my bad here.
Wow.
But just a few people I want to thank before leaving here for some of the resources that helped us out. The Day 9 Daily, I got to go back and chill out and watch those.
Yeah.
The Pylon Show with Artanis and Jeff.
Good. Yep.
Mott Bob's Guide to Early Starcraft from 1998 to 2005. Team Liquid, the Liquipedia editors, and Freezered, and the Foreign Brood War Discord, and of course the amazing couch commentators we've had for this, Rail Coon and Covert Muffin.
Thank you for having us, Dime.
Thanks,
Thank
Dime.
You, man.
Thank you once again, KingDime. Hey, thank you, Railgun. Thank you, Muffin. Thank you for that phenomenal RTS block. It was incredible. And during that run, we have received a donation from the Yeti.